Hey, everybody. Welcome to the August broadcast of Cancer Prevention and Wellness presented by the Cancer Survivors Park Alliance. I'm your host, Jeff Jaguar. Every month, we try to present a topic dealing with cancer, cancer therapeutics, cancer prevention. There was recent information that you might have seen in the popular press about American Cancer Society publication showing that 40%, full 40% of cancer diagnoses are preventable with lifestyle modification, vaccines, and other things that we talk about in this series. A full 50% of the most life-threatening cancers are preventable. So it's something to be looking out for. And we also look at lifestyle techniques that allow us to live our best lives, both as regular citizens or as cancer survivors and their caregivers. Lifestyle medicine, a topic that we're going to deal with today, deals with a couple of elements of lifestyle medicine, that being exercise and mind-body balance. The topic for today is yoga. It's a very data-driven and scientifically backed technique that's helped with health maintenance, health improvement, health restoration for literally thousands of years. So our tour director for this topic is a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, Hannah Allen, who lives here locally, has her own home studio, as well as working out of Greenville Yoga, and she'll give you more information as how you might find her if you like what you hear, and I suspect you will. Hannah, welcome, and thank you for sharing this important topic with us.
Hi, thank you so much, Dr. Jaguar. I appreciate you having me, and I'm
And
excited to share a little bit with everyone.
so we'll let you get into your didactic portion. I've told Hannah this, that she's not going to take offense if my questions kind of interrupt her while she's speaking. So please don't think of me as rude if we just don't have this exactly right as far as her having a moment where I can ask a question and not interrupt her. But we'll try to get some questions that you might have, but you're not able to offer to us right now. I'll try to do those for you. So Hannah, I'll let you get started.
Thank you. So I've created just a little PowerPoint to help sort of summarize a little about yoga and how it can benefit you, whether you're a survivor, a caretaker, or just somebody looking to sort of get into a healthy practice. So yeah, yoga has been quite beneficial to me throughout my cancer journey before, during and after. So I'm a huge proponent of it, and I'm here just to share a little information about how it works and what it is. So we'll start here. This is yoga for survivors, but obviously yoga is for all folks. So this is just a little explanation of the very basic foundation of yoga. What is yoga? Yoga is a practice that's been around for thousands of years. It focuses on the connection between the mind, the body, and then also the spirits, or sort of that nebulous thing that we don't understand a lot about. We just know that it's important. Yoga, the actual word, is derived from a Sanskrit word, which is yuj, and that means to yoke. So when you're yoking animals together, it's basically taking those things and binding them, creating that important connection. Yoga is from ancient India, but it has been practiced all over the world for a very long time, even roots in Chinese medicine as well. So yeah, yoga has lots and lots of history and important benefits throughout. So yoga basically is the practice of uniting breath and movement. And this unification sort of creates a heightened self-awareness and helps improve overall well-being for people. So yeah, it's one of those things that is a very personal practice, and you will take what you need from it as a practice. That leads into who yoga is for. And yoga is absolutely for anyone and everyone. It is for anyone looking to start a home practice. It's for people who are familiar with maybe strength training and exercise and need to add sort of that stretch component. It's for people who are looking to deepen a spiritual practice. So again, yoga is there to meet you right where you are, whether you're mobile or not. Again, whether you have knowledge of the practice or not, it is not something to be afraid of or wary of. It's one of those things that once you get into it, you sort of understand what the mind and body need, and you're able to, again, sort of modify your practice to make that what you need it to be.
So Hannah, when you meet a new client, and it may be somebody who's going through the throes of a diagnosis or is recovering from therapy, or just a person that wants to do yoga and get healthier, uh, do you do an intake about where they are, from the standpoint of have they practiced this before? Are they familiar with yoga? Do they have a history with yoga? What is their, bones, and what's their age, and what's their flexibility? I mean, some things I think we have to overcome some of the predetermination that, guys are just not flexible. And
Absolutely.
obviously, the majority of yoga teachers are women.
Yeah.
The majority who attend your classes are women. Do you have anything to help guys overcome the fear of, yoga as being more of a women-oriented thing? So that's a very long question, and I'm okay
No,
with you
that's
giving a very long answer, but uh, is I know it. You meet people right where they are, and I just wonder how you determine where you are.
yes. So if I am dealing with a one-on-one client, I will do just that. I will start with sort of what is your motivation? What got you interested in yoga, and what would you like to see from this practice? That being said, it's one of those things that, like you were saying, sometimes, especially for men in a population or people who are maybe a little older and have not experienced yoga, it's one of those things that, you sort of tread carefully around. But when I am sort of learning more about what motivates a client, especially someone who doesn't really have that much of a background, it is going to be, hey, what are the things in your body that you notice on a day-to-day basis that maybe you would like to work on? What are those places that maybe are tight or tense? What is your sort of style of relaxation when you are looking to relax? What do you do specifically to get to that point? And so then you can sort of create a class or even a workshop around a person, just looking for their individual needs. So, for instance, I have a gentleman who has arthritic knees and cannot put a whole lot of weight on his knees. So, what we would do is do some of those poses without utilizing the knees. So you would be in a sitting position or you would be in a standing position working on a pose as opposed to a hands and knees position. So again, I wish that yoga was a little more widely sort of understood and out in the community, because once people get into it, they become very, very interested in it, and the benefits are almost immediate. So yeah, it's sort of getting around that stigma that maybe yoga is a woman only exercise, that you need to be flexible to be able to do it. Those things are not the goal of yoga or any practice. And again, the goal is going to be super individual, and we're going to work toward whatever your specific needs are. Whether you're just looking to relax, or whether you're wanting to begin to build strength, or maybe you're trying to manage depression from, something traumatic like a cancer diagnosis, and come up with a consistent routine to be able to do that. All of those things are valid, and whatever the reason that you're approaching yoga is also valid. And yeah, it's not a taboo, sort of scary thing once you start to realize, oh yeah, this sort of makes sense. That once you develop sort of that connection in the body and the mind, utilizing the breath, things sort of begin to fall in place. So yeah, I know that the men that we work with absolutely love yoga, and I just hope that as it becomes more popular, and it's been popular for a long time, that that door will continue to open, and there won't be such a, oh, I have to be a certain way to be able to practice.
So most yoga teachers try to overcome that initial intimidation factor.
Absolutely. And if I am teaching a general class, and yes, the majority of people will be women, but for those gentlemen that do find themselves in the class, I will offer variations of poses, not even knowing what your mobility situation may be, so that you feel like you have other options and that you can still remain involved even if you're not necessarily able to get directly into the pose the way that it's being shown. So being able to offer different props, different variations on poses, just with that understanding that, hey, we're all very different anatomically, and so we need to respect that, especially if we're in a general class. So yeah, I think that, yoga it really is for everyone. And I hope that more people begin to explore it and find the good things that I've been able to take away from it as well.
That was a great answer. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. So that brings us to sort of different types of yoga. Yoga is a broad sort of umbrella term for lots of different styles and ways to practice. Again, when you are looking into yoga, maybe there's a style for you that really resonates, that another style may not. So, for example, again, the intention behind certain classes is different. And sometimes finding that intention that resonates with you is obviously going to make it be a more consistent practice for you. So, for example, there's hot yoga, power flow yoga. So these are more basically strengthening and sort of building practices, high energy, getting the heart pumping, cardio, that kind of thing. That is one end of the spectrum. And on the other end of the spectrum is something like yin, that involves just laying on your back for the most part and breathing and holding poses for a longer amount of time. So yeah, the best way I would say for people to find what they are looking for is to start with sort of a general class and then moving into something that might be better suited for your needs at that time. It's not a one size fits all situation. So there's a yoga there that will generally work for each person as long as they are open to it. So yeah. So to go into a little bit more detail about some different types of yoga, and this is by no means a list that has all the different types. There are lots and lots, but this gives you just sort of a general idea of the types that are offered. And most of these styles of yoga are offered in Greenville currently. And they may not be all offered at the same studio, but the different studios sort of have those different caveats that fit them. So Hatha yoga is basically your standard yoga that you're going to encounter if you're just taking a general class. So it really focuses on breath. And then once the sort of breath pattern is established, you will add movement to that breath. And sort of moving with the breath or breath-led movement creates that sort of mind-body balance.
So, Hannah, one of the things that oncologists are doing more and more is they're studying symptom management and using yoga for symptoms like pain or
Yeah.
nausea or fatigue or insomnia. And the practice that they use as the intervention is hatha yoga,
Yes.
hatha yoga. Because it's pretty easy to
Yes.
learn it, and you can find an instructor in your area that can do that for you.
Yes. And I will say too, people who, are uncomfortable or not quite sure of something like meditation, this style of yoga really sort of gives you both of those characteristics where it's the meditation of the breath, but you're adding that movement into it as well. And what happens when, especially with these, with breath patterns, is that it signals to our body that it's okay to relax. So you're even if you have something else, pain or something like that going on, your breath immediately starts to soothe the central nervous system. And that in turn lets the body know that it's in a safe space. It can relax and it can sort of calm itself. So it is really, really helpful for pain management, things like insomnia, even all of these things are sort of interconnected. And then using the breath and using sort of those movements with that just takes you to that deeper level. So yeah, it is a wonderful, wonderful practice. And if I am going to start any client, that is where I would start is with the hatha yoga. So yeah, it's wonderful. Vinyasa is very similar, but it is a little faster paced. So once you establish the breath pattern or the breath work, you're going to start moving through a sequence or a series of poses a little bit more quickly than you would with the previous yoga. So, and these sequences sometimes tend to be um, repetitive. So you sort of get an understanding of what's going to happen next when you're doing vinyasa yoga. And it too, it focuses on the breath and the movement, but at the same time, you are establishing that sort of, you're moving into that parasympathetic nervous system, allowing the body to know, hey, we're going to move deeply into a pose. Maybe we're compressing a part of the body, but it's still very safe to do so. Your breath is still allowing you to know that we're moving, the heart rate may be up a little, but with this vinyasa yoga, you are in that sort of safe space and maybe can find a little deeper pose than you would with just say stretching. So that's really where that the breath comes into play there. Um, the next one is Iyengar yoga, and these are more poses that are held. They're really focused on alignment and sort of strengthening the body in these shapes. So Iyengar yoga follows a very specific sequence, and you will sort of repeat that sequence each class. So again, you understand where you're going with it, but you're holding these poses for a longer period of time. You're still breathing in the pose, but those holds are helping you build strength, especially in the core, the legs, things like that. And Iyengar is it is not quite as popular in Greenville as some of these other styles are. But here and there, I have encountered singular teachers who are trained in the Iyengar style. So if that is something that you are really interested in, I would just encourage you to sort of search Greenville Iyengar teacher, because they're there. There's just, I don't know that there's a studio devoted solely to that type of practice. Moving into yin, and yin is another incredible practice. I actually balance my practice between hatha, a little vinyasa, and yin especially. Yin is it is a style of yoga where you move into a pose and then you hold that pose. Now, the breath doesn't have to be as established in this type of yoga. However, you can sort of tune into your breath, and that allows you to move more deeply into the pose. Lots of props are also used in this style of yoga. So things like blocks, blankets, bolsters. These two allow you to sort of get into the pose and signify to the body it's okay to relax in the pose. So we're not holding and tensing everything up. We're moving into deep relaxation. So these poses are generally held between 3 to 5 minutes. And then you'll do just a slight bit of movement in between poses. Again, something to pay attention to in poses that you're holding longer is where the mind tends to go. So in yin, just understanding, hey, I keep having these recurring thoughts, or I'm really focused in on this one place in the body. It brings awareness to what might be going on in like the subconscious of the body. So yin gets really deep into poses and sort of allows you to explore yourself more as well. Restorative is in the same vein. Restorative is the most sort of deep relaxation style of yoga that you can encounter besides nidra. This style of yoga utilizes quite a bit of props, and these poses sort of utilizing usually a bolster and blankets allow you just to sort of lay in the pose and allow the body to fully relax. Restorative yoga is really great for people who may be not, they need to work on their strength, but they're not quite ready to do that. So I know that in my cancer journey, when I first came out of the hospital, I wasn't very mobile, but I was able to sort of move into these little shapes and just lay there with them. So restorative is really good for just what it says, for restoring the body, nourishing the spirit, just allowing you a quiet space to really relax. And again, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have power yoga. And power yoga and hot yoga are very popular in Greenville right now. These are styles that are really high energy. They're very fast paced. They are focused on building lots of strength and elevating the heart rate. And also, sweating tends to be part of that. So sort of sweating out toxins or whatever else that you need to get into. These styles of yoga too, I would just recommend that you enter these styles cautiously, especially if you are on a survivor journey right now, yes, we may want to, bounce back to our full health, like where we started from. But just be careful with these styles of yoga because when they are fast paced and high energy, sometimes you can be going to a point and overdo it without realizing it.
Yeah,
So
good caution. Yeah, I think you can get back to where you were, but it's a process.
it is such a process. Yes, I actually started my yoga journey with hot yoga, and I have not done it in many years. So again, it's a journey and just finding what works for you. So yeah, power yoga and hot yoga, they are popular. They do have lots and lots of good benefits, especially, for the body and keeping everything sort of moving. But they are just to be taken with caution and just understand your body before you enter into any sort of new practice or exercise. Ashtanga is another one of those styles that it's sort of like Iyengar, where you have a very set sequence of poses, and these you will go through several times in a class. So it makes it, not complicated. You know exactly where you're going next. These can be a little bit faster paced, and they really focus on sort of proper alignment of the body. So yeah, again, there is a yoga that will fit everyone. Ashtanga, I know that there's a couple of places I think in Greenville that offer Ashtanga, but also like with Iyengar, it may be a one-on-one sort of finding that teacher who teaches it. And then the final one is just the ultimate relaxation here. Yoga Nidra is just a meditation that you undertake lying down. It's usually, sometimes before bed, so you sort of drift off into bed. But it just promotes the ultimate allowing the body to rest and sort of um, replenish and renew itself. And Nidra is taught in a couple of places in Greenville as well. So we actually have an online one through Greenville Yoga, so you can do it from the comfort of your home. But yeah,
So Anna, you know the ecosystem of where different techniques are taught. I would assume you'd also know who's doing it with learned technique. I mean, who has been instructed and is certified. And I mean, you have a registration, you're a registered yoga teacher.
yes.
I suspect that there are places around the city, around the county, where somebody hangs out a sign because they're good at yoga but they really haven't been taught. I mean, you can warn them off of that as well.
Yes, yes, I know that nationally, some places as far as hiring teachers may not require certification, but I will say that a 200-hour yoga teacher training and beyond, they offer 500-hour as well. That is really going to get through the like fine tuning. So alignment, working with anatomy, understanding physiology and sort of kinesiology, why we're doing something and how movement leads. These really intricate sort of details of yoga and understanding, why we do something, what breath is doing, all of that is sort of going to give the teacher a deeper understanding and in ways to be able to fine tune a class according to what a client needs or understanding that, hey, there's a possibility here that injury may occur. So maybe we should not do this or that. Whereas someone who is not certified may not have sort of that depth of knowledge. They may be really good at practicing, But as far as understanding the how or why behind something, that might not be all there. And Greenville is pretty good at most of the studios that I've been to
Okay.
with certified teachers. I would just maybe caution if you're doing your own research or looking for a teacher for yourself, just making sure that they at least have some kind of background in that because it is a very intensive class and certification process. And it is very science driven as well, as opposed to, whatever else may be going on with someone. So yeah, I would highly recommend someone who's certified just because of that. But just knowing that those folks out there, they are around that are not certified and are practicing and teaching. So hopefully one day it will be more, I guess, required as far as
And regulated, right?
regulated. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly that. Yeah.
All right, I probably will interrupt Les now. We have to pick up the pace just a titch.
All right. So this is for cancer patients, those who are in the process of treatment or those who are in recovery. And these are my personal recommendations as well, as I've been through the cancer journey for thyroid cancer. So Hatha and Vinyasa yoga after cancer, if you're wanting to begin to build strength, again, utilizing that breath to sort of understand that the body knows that we're in a mode where we can relax, but also begin to build on that. Yin and restorative, those were two types of yoga that specifically right after my surgeries, I went to because I didn't have a whole lot of mobility, but I was able to use these types in my recovery, even in the bed. And then yoga nidra as well, just as that sort of meditation, just allowing you to move into a relaxed state in spite of whatever else may be happening at the time. So those are my recommendations. Like I said, with any type of yoga, just know yourself and understand sort of what the intention for you is when getting into it. So yoga has lots of benefits. And again, at any point in your journey, whether you are being treated or you are in recovery or you're not a part of the process of cancer, treatment right now, maybe you just want to feel better. Yoga is amazing for all of that. And so these are some of the specific benefits here. Yoga has been shown to manage stress and anxiety. Again, using that breath and sort of body connection helps calm the nervous system. That's what we're looking to do overall, is regulate the nervous system. It improves mental and emotional health, especially when you have a consistent practice. Um, it increases strength, balance, and mobility. It helps to decrease fatigue. Yoga improves the sleep. It can, just like you were saying, Dr. Jaguar, it helps manage pain, lowers the blood pressure, the aiding in digestion, that's getting into that parasympathetic nervous system. It benefits the heart. Again, you're just getting the blood flowing through the body and in a calm way. That consistent practice will help you build those healthy habits. And then it ultimately allows you to explore yourself more deeply, understanding your needs, your motivations, your wants. All of that comes over time with yoga. And then it increases energy. So those, I put the little links down below. These are definitely researched, and these are benefits that John Hopkins and cancer.org list immediately. So yoga is a really important tool to have no matter where you are. on your
Yeah,
journey.
a lot of our patients, as you know, are imbalanced
Yes.
after a diagnosis, and especially from some of the therapies. And
Yeah.
some of this slow yoga is almost Tai Chi like,
Yes.
I assume, and
It's
helps
absolutely.
with the proprioception of knowing where your body is in space.
Yes. Yes. It's so important. It's almost like you are starting from the ground up again. And so you need sort of a roadmap to get there. And
Right,
this
right.
is a good start for that. So here we move into, as I was saying, the breath practice, and this is a crucial component of yoga. And it is that thing that allows you again to begin to regulate the nervous system, telling the body you're in a safe space, and then beginning to sort of build on what you need to. So breath work or breathing exercises, they come in lots of different forms. Just like with yoga, it's sort of an umbrella term. Again, find what works for you and just continue with it in a consistent way. These techniques, they calm the central nervous system and begin to focus the mind. And these, when you are taking deep, cyclical, measured breaths, your body is told that you're able to relax. So then you are relaxed, you're moving into the present moment, clearing the mind. And this allows you to move toward that goal that you're hoping to achieve. And I find that breath practice aids me in everyday life, especially like in traffic. When I need a moment, take a breath or two.
Yeah.
And it's one of those tools that I'm teaching to my son because I fully believe in the power of this. Once you understand it and get into the practice that feels right for you, it's a powerful, powerful tool. Even when your mind is not in a space that is, focus, maybe it's chaotic, the quickest way to sort of settle yourself is through breath. And sometimes that's all we have control of is our breath.
So both you and Baxter will be doing breathing exercises first day of school on Thursday.
Yes. And sometimes I'm when I am practicing with him or we're in a moment, and he's dysregulated, I realize that I'm co-regulating. So me breathing with him is helping soothe me as well. So yeah, it's an important tool no matter what you're doing.
Right.
So some of the benefits of utilizing the breath or a breath practice, you are calming, you have two nervous systems, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. Your sympathetic nervous system is sort of that fight or flight. Evolutionarily, we have been tuned in to be aware of danger and ready to go at all times. So what we're wanting to do is calm that fight or flight response and then activate or trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. This nervous system is responsible for resting and digesting, sort of easing, relaxing. So yeah, it's all about sort of moving out of that dysregulated state and into a regulated one. And being able to do that over time, alleviating chronic stress, there's no telling what the benefits could be from that. Um, but again, as soon as you're practicing breath work or deep breathing exercises, you're quieting the mind. You're beginning to sort of ease stress and anxiety. Your blood pressure is lowering. And then it's allowing you to sort of tune into the present moment. We're so distracted all day, every day. So it's nice to sometimes be able to focus right in to whatever we need. And just like with yoga, different styles of breath practice, we utilize Ujjayi, this first one. Ujjayi is sort of ocean wave breath, is what it means. And basically, this is just a series of deep breaths. So we'll think about a count to 5, breathing in, and then a count to 5 on the exhalation. So just being able to do that in cycles really, really helps you get into that sort of calm state of mind. And then you can add movement to it. And that creates sort of the hatha yoga practice. So Ujjayi is the ocean breath. That's the one I utilize all the time. Samariti is equal ratio breathing. So that's sort of that box breathing. You're breathing for this many seconds in, this many seconds out, and it just continues in that cycle. Nadi Shodhana is alternate nostril breathing. So you actually have a placement of the fingers and you use them to sort of close one nostril and then the other. And this type of breathing says that it cools in one way and then heats you up in the opposite way. And then Sima Pranayama is lion's breath. This breath looks really funny, but if you are angry, this is a really good sort of way to get that out. You basically stick your tongue out and yell or roar. So all of these breath practices have different effects and they utilize different techniques. But the goal sort of remains the same with the breath, and that is just soothing the body, quieting the mind. Now, if you are looking for yoga classes, if you're not really sure where to start in Greenville, there's lots and lots of options. Obviously, this is an option here with the cancer support community at the Survivors Park. I listed the website there so that you have access to it. They have a schedule. I know that they have different offerings for yoga. I know that I think Tai Chi is one of them as well. I would encourage anything like that just to check it out. And you're in a community of people, especially if you're a survivor or a caretaker, who have been through similar situations. So it's really nice to feel supported in that way. Good old Google will give you sort of a list of yoga studios near you. And these studios basically, most of them, you can go in for either an introductory class or series of classes for very cheap. So when I first lived in Greenville, I sort of did a tour of different studios in that way and figured out what my home base Greenville yoga would be, which one resonated the most with me. I still do YouTube videos. So if you're at home, let's say you really have no background in yoga and you just want to see what it's about, YouTube is a great resource for any kind of yoga at any length. So just typing that in the search bar, what you're looking for, it should provide a list of videos that will be convenient for you. And then if you need a personal yoga instructor or you're looking just to either deepen a practice or start a practice, increase mobility or strength, I am also available. I have private clients that I either travel to their house or utilize my studio at home. And then I also teach at Greenville Yoga as well. I can't highly recommend Greenville Yoga enough if you're looking for just a class to start with. Greenville Yoga, the Kroc Center, and the Y are really good options if you're looking to start your journey. So feel free to reach out. And this is just sort of a bit about my cancer journey here. I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer in 2022. I had a lump in my neck, and once I got that biopsied, they realized that, hey, it was something strange. So then they did a partial thyroidectomy. Once that came back as positive for Hürthle cell carcinoma, they decided to take the other part of my thyroid out. So throughout that, I have used yoga, my background in yoga, during treatment, after sort of recovery, and it took a really long time to get back into the level of sort of physical resilience that I'm at now. So this was a process over a couple of years, but I'm happy to say that I'm cancer free, and I really feel that the tools that yoga instilled in me have been a huge help as far as recovery and just gaining back strength, mobility, that kind of thing. Managing pain, managing all of the emotions that come with a diagnosis. So yeah, I am happy to discuss with anyone at any time, but feel free to reach out. And again, it's nice to know that we have such a huge community here for cancer support.
Well,
Um,
you talk the talk, but you've also walked the walk. And you know, one of the things that she's probably downplaying is the fact that after you remove your thyroid, it's kind of a necessary organ. It makes thyroid hormone, and so you can't do well without that. And it's hard to regulate it with the synthetic hormone after that. So you have a lot of periods where you're low on thyroid, and that is not your best self. And so to persevere, you know, with the help of this technique through that was yeoman's work, and good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
It
Yeah,
look,
and you are completely correct. Regulating my medication that I need to take and my thyroid hormone has been such a roller coaster and a journey on its own. So yeah, again, I don't think there's an endpoint when you are in recovery. I just think that you take it day by day. And these are some of the tools that, I personally use in my life to help manage that. But yeah, I'm just glad to be here and
well, we're glad you're here
thankful.
too, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks so much. So I have created, and I know you guys can probably go through this sort of on your own, but I've created like a mini series of poses that are really good for people who are navigating their cancer journey. I've included slides here so that you can see what the pose looks like. So feel free, each of these poses, again, you're going to start with that deep breath. And I would say take about 5 of those deep breaths before you move into the pose. Continue to breathe during each pose and hold it for maybe 1 minute to start. If something feels really good in the body when you find that pose, hold it for a little longer, including that breath. And it's really about paying attention to the body when you're moving into poses and saying, hey, what is it that I specifically need right here? So these are just some of the standards to start with and that are very, very helpful for people who are on their cancer journey. Mountain pose is just sort of your standing pose, just thinking about being nice and strong and tall, and again, including that breath work in that pose. Warrior two is really good for opening up the hips, stretching the inner thigh, along with building strength. So again, you're going to think about really when you're in these poses, just making sort of a tight core for yourself, breathing while you're doing that, and maybe just holding it for a minute to begin with.
So this wouldn't be a pose in yin. I don't know if I could hold that
No,
long.
no, definitely not. No, most yin poses are done on the back.
Okay, good.
This would be a convenient one for yin. Child's pose is a very grounding, safe pose. If you have any sensitivity in your knees or limited mobility there, you can also turn over on your back and sort of just allow the back of the knees to drape over the forearms. So, or putting padding beneath the knees, just finding what works for you. Again, this is a calming, grounding pose and sort of allows you to relax into it. Downward dog is another one of those where you're strengthening the body, but you're also really stretching the spine and decompressing the spine and the neck. So this pose too, you're stretching the calves and the hamstrings, but you're also sort of holding the body up with that tight core, building strength. And again, these might not be accessible for everyone. That's a-okay. Downward dog can be done against a wall. You're just pushing the body away from the wall. These, a seated twist can also be done on the back as a recline twist. These are really, really good for mobility of the spine, opening up the outer hips and the IT band along the outer hips as well. But you really, again, want to make sure that you are breathing when you're compressing the spine in this direction, and that you are safely holding sort of your core tight so that the lower back is supported. But any kind of twist is really, really good for the body and especially spinal health. This is reclined butterfly. You see the gentleman with his knees splayed out. If you're looking to do this pose and say, okay, my inner thighs are very tight, I don't have a lot of mobility there, you can place pillows beneath the knees or blocks or any other sort of thing that you need to support the legs. Again, we're opening everything up here, remembering to breathe while we're doing it. This is one of those poses sort of in yin that would be held for a longer period of time. But if you're just getting into yoga, focus on the length of time that feels right for you in these shapes. This is a seated forward fold, and this is something you can do standing as well. Again, the focus being on sort of decompressing the low back, really stretching the hamstrings here, and then just making sure that the hips are sort of stable. So you're going to think about when you're moving into a fold, whether it's standing or seated, think about really hinging from the hips as opposed to just leading in, rounding the spine. Really wanting to lengthen the spine and then fold forward. And then this pose is fun for everyone. Again, it has lots of variations. Happy Baby is one of those where you are really lengthening the spine and opening up the pelvis here. You can also sort of stretch the legs by using the hands to sort of leverage the feet down, or you can allow the legs to dangle freely. Again, it's just about what the purpose is for the pose. Any kind of low back stuff, this is a great, great pose for that. So again, Happy Baby is a really fun one. I usually end most of my classes with a form of Happy Baby. And yeah, that sort of concludes everything. This is my contact info if anyone needs to get in touch with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm grateful to have been on a cancer journey and to be able to sort of marry that with my love of yoga. So this has been an absolutely wonderful opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Jaguar.
Well, you're a joy. This was Yoga 101, 202, and 303.
Thank
Um,
you.
a little bit about you did you do a class over at the Cancer Survivors Park, and that's chair yoga. Can you explain
Yes.
that in about 30 seconds?
Yes, absolutely. So chair yoga, again, is for people with more limited mobility. We use a chair and then we do some of these basic poses either in the chair or using the chair as a support. So if you were standing, you would be putting basically your weight onto the back of the chair and then sort of lifting the leg or the arm. Chair yoga is a really great way to be introduced to yoga, especially if you are working with less mobility here. But it doesn't have to be. It's a fun class for whoever wants to take it.
Okay, great. I wanted to have you speak so that they'd have plenty of time to take down your information as well.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Next month, we'll be talking to a board certified immunologist about cancer immunology. That's been a field that's
Oh,
been burgeoning in the last decade.
yes.
There's been a lot of information about how the cancer had hidden from our immune system and how
Yes.
we're trying to become more diligent about not letting it hide and finding it and treating it with this immunotherapy.
That's
I
so
do
cool.
end with a couple of quotes. Yeah, this is kind of a mind-body thing. This was from Max Ehrmann's Desiderata poem. Max was a American writer and poet, lived from 1872 to 1945, and this is his most famous work. This is just an excerpt from it. Um, Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. So be kind to yourself. The last quote is from George Eliot, who was an English novelist and poet, lived from 1819 to 1880. And this is your inspiration for the week. It's never too late to be what you might have been. So we'll let,
Wonderful.
we'll let you go. And thanks again, Hannah. And thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jagir. Everyone have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.